Fantastic. All right, so thank you all so much for joining this morning. It was really great to see a good turnout for a seminar, especially in summer and during summertime. And I know everyone's situation is obviously quite impacted by COVID, and some of you might find that you have more flexibility and others might find that you have less flexibility than you ever had before. So it's always good to use that time for a little bit of self-care and just to get your mind off your day-to-day workload as well. So most of you know me, but I'm just going to quickly introduce myself to those who don't. My name is Natasha. I have been working for over 15 years now in the fitness and wellness industry. I'm a rehab trainer, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a group fitness class coach. I teach yoga, Pilates, but also more high-intense classes, and I love indoor cycling. I miss it very much at the moment. That's the one thing that I can't wait to get back into it. I'm also a certified life coach. I do corporate wellness, and I also do research in sports and exercise science. And just last year we've set up or established the Sports and Wellness Science Lab at NYU AD, which I'm very excited about, and again I'm looking forward to continue developing that. And yeah, I do believe in a very holistic approach and understanding to fitness and wellness, and I do believe that that's something that is quite often overlooked. We tend to just consider fitness as one singular aspect of our well-being that we want to treat or work with, and quite often we then fail to achieve the goals that we set ourselves up for. And today's seminar is actually going to touch onto that quite a bit. So why do I believe that singular understanding is not working? Because we need to always consider what our goals really are, but also we need to consider who we are as a person, how we respond to triggers, how we respond to stimuli in order to achieve results, and then also in order to be able to stick to the path that we decided on going. Good. So today's seminar, Treat Yourself, Changing the Way We Nurture Our Body and Soul. I'm hoping that at least for some of you, the way I'm going with this is going to be a bit of a surprise, but I do hope that it all comes together nicely at the end, and that it's going to make a lot of sense to you guys. Please feel free to ask questions. I've muted you all, so if you can ask your questions, write them into the comment section. I can't promise that I'm gonna be reading them whilst I'm talking, but I will leave lots of time at the end for questions and clarifications. I will probably be talking for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and yeah, and then hopefully have a little bit of a discussion around it. So we're going to be talking about paradigms that we have around food and nutrition, and about ways to well, to treat ourselves differently, and each of you will decide if you want to choose new ways of treating yourself, if you want to change your understanding of what is a treat for yourself, for your body, for your soul, or if you already have a very good relationship to treating yourself, and if that's something that you want to continue doing the way you're doing. So there is no right or wrong, and I just want to say that for because I do not want to leave the impression that I am judging the way you are treating yourself. So this is really about learning something, and as I said, I'm really happy to have a good conversation at the end of the seminar. Good. I'm going to start the seminar off by a quote of a Roman poet, which is orandum est, ut sit mens sana in corpore sano, which means you should pray for a healthy body for a healthy mind in a healthy body. So that was a quote by Juvenal. You might have heard the latter part of the quote, mens sana in corpore sano, quite famous saying. The reason why I choose to quote is that I find it quite interesting that already in the early 2nd century, this understanding of the connection between mind and body was there and was utilized. However, we tend to ignore that nowadays, or we often forget the importance of that connection between body and mind. So why are we missing that connection? Well, I believe a lot of it has to do with our lifestyle, with the challenges that we are exposed in our everyday life, with the pressures that we're exposed to through work, through our social life as well. Rest has become a little bit of, or has been negatively associated recently. So depending on your work stream, you might find that you have very long working hours, and then on top of that we have social media, we have all the electronic devices that keep ourselves engaged throughout the day until late into the night, and it becomes harder and harder to switch off. And as we're all working in education, we also know that younger people are even more affected by that, maybe because they haven't had an upbringing which was more technologically free than as we had, and are now even more struggling to switch off. And I'm coming back to rest a little bit later on, but just keep that in mind, that now our lifestyle is not really allowing us to rest and to take a break from whatever it is that we're doing. So overall, we can just state that we're more stressed than we used to be as humans, as human beings, and that increased level of stress then asks us or causes us to need more treats, right? I'm sure we can all agree with that. So if I'm very stressed, I just want to treat myself. I feel like I deserve a treat, which is perfectly right. But we need to question quite carefully what it is that we want to treat. So before we go there, let's step back and let me just ask you, what is a treat for you? You don't have to write it in, but just, sorry, I'm hoping I'm not frozen. If you could just give me a thumbs up if you can still all hear me and we're all good. Good, all right, fantastic. Thanks, Alize. So let's just step back, and I want you all to think about, what do you consider as a treat? So imagine you're having a really bad day, you're stressed, you're coming home. What is the one thing that you do to treat yourself? And as I said, feel free to answer it, feel free to put it into the comment box. You don't have to just answer it for yourself. And I'm sure a few of you will have said food, a nice meal, comfort food, maybe just relaxing in front of the TV, maybe reading, maybe listening to music, maybe talking to a friend, maybe taking a day off, taking a break somehow. And lots of different ways we're trying to treat ourselves. But as I said, a lot of us are gonna consider food as a treat, and we're going to talk about food a little bit more again later on as well. So coming back to that first question, what exactly is it that we treat? And now we need to dive a little bit deeper into the underlying emotions of stress. Okay, stress is an umbrella term. Stress is the end result. We feel stressed, right? But what triggers our stress? What triggers that experience of stress? And again, I want you to take a moment to just think about, for yourself, what stresses you out. I'm giving you some examples of how deep I want you to go into that. So let me talk about my own stress experience. For example, in this situation, I get stressed by a sense of underachieving. So throughout this COVID situation, I'm not feeling as productive, and that's something that stresses me out. So improductivity, if that's a word, or unproductivity, whatever it is. So that's one of my stress triggers. And I just want you to think about in your everyday life, in your work life, situations that do really trigger your stress experience. Feel free to write them down as well. So if you have something to write or take some notes, because this is quite important to become aware of. So what makes you feel stressed? Okay, so I'm gonna just name a few more feelings, emotions that come up quite often when talking about stress. So lack of time, overall pressure, time pressure, loneliness, sadness, feeling of depression, anxiety, tiredness. These can all be underlying emotions that we have. But again, they're triggered by something that goes one step deeper. So that one step deeper is what I wanted you to write down and to just explore a little bit. So obviously, the more we have, the more we experience in terms of our triggers, the more we will feel the need for reward. And I'm coming back to that again a little bit later. I just want to quickly detour into food a little bit more and talking about food. So I'm naming food because food in a social context is very often linked to happy memories, to social gatherings, friends and families coming together, events, celebrations, right? And I know especially at NYU from me working in workplace wellness, or obviously also in the fitness center, one of the things that we hear a lot is that there is so much food around and it becomes so hard and so difficult to step away from food because it's always there. In the different offices, depending on where you work, you might feel the same way. Culturally, pretty much it doesn't even matter which culture, every culture has that understanding of food being something that we give, that we share, that we want to have as a part of celebrations again. So which means that we always have really happy memories with food, right? Because if every family celebration or every celebration that we have has food in it, then that's linked to the emotion of happiness. So if we're now feeling stressed, if we're feeling unhappy, then it makes sense that we think of food as something to recreate the happy feelings that we link to food for whatever reason that we have. And food can help to quite a big extent with unhappiness, depression, anxiety. Why is that? Certain foods release hormones, like for example chocolate. We all know that chocolate releases some happy hormones, and whilst that is a fast and fading fix, it is certainly a fix and it does certainly work. And also there is a lot of comfort in habit and in rituals. So if food has become a habit or a ritual for you in order to treat something, then that will make you feel good. It's not the food in that case, it is the habit. It's the repetition of an event that will give you comfort and the feeling of security that you have. But now I'm coming back to what I had you write down before, the underlying emotions. So if we use food, and again, I'm not having a go at using food as a treat. I just know that it's one of the things that is very often used and named. And I'm using food as an example for ways we tend to treat ourselves the wrong way. So if we're using food, we're using a physiological solution for a psychological problem. And by doing so, we're potentially causing physiological damage. because we're overeating, or we're eating something that's potentially not healthy and good for us. So coming back to my quote from earlier, mens sana in corpore sano. If in order to treat a psychological problem, my mind, I am using or I am causing physiological damage, then that whole equation of the healthy mind and the healthy body is completely offset. And it probably was offset before, but every time I'm experiencing stress, I'm going through that cycle, I'm making it worse. And even so, I'm temporarily treating, or I'm feeling that I'm treating myself, it will just long-term backfire and not benefit you. And our mental well-being is overall negatively impacted. So I hope this is making sense so far. Please feel free to add some comments now if you like. You can write them to me personally. I'm just taking a super quick break in case anything didn't make sense of my explanation so far. Or feel free to give me a little thumbs up if you want me to proceed at this point. Okay. All right, so we're moving on. Good. So, yes, Lisa. All right, I'm just going to move on. If you have any questions, just pop them in. Okay, I'll try to read them. So now we identified the problem. We're just going to talk about solutions, right? As easy as that. So for the solutions, there's a few steps, and we've already gone through a few. The first and the most important one is to identify the problem and the emotion that you want to treat. So again, if I'm coming back to my examples that I gave earlier, if I talk about loneliness, okay, so my underlying emotion, my underlying stressor is loneliness. Food is not going to do it, right? Just food. What I want is I want to connect. I want to connect with someone. So calling a friend, calling a loved one, reaching out to people, talking about the way I feel would be an appropriate solution to my problem. And also, like, if you have any other ways you treat yourself, you know, they might not be the right solution. Again, I'm not using food as the only one thing that we can talk about. I know it's a commonly one, but we all have our own ways of treating ourselves, right? And again, if loneliness is your issue, then reading a book is not going to do it because you're still lonely. It might make you feel better, but it's not really solving the problem for you. So you can spin that either which way. I forget about food, as I said. I just talk about it. Let's, like, what other issues did I? Yeah, pressure. You know, lack of time, pressure, feeling pressured all the time. Yes, just finding time to relax is going to make you feel better, but again, it's not going to remove the pressure long term. So if you're feeling that there's that sense of constant pressure, then there's other ways, better ways to take action about it. And it might be having a conversation with your manager, that might be having a conversation with your family members if the pressure and the lack of time is more in a personal life, and really being open about it. Very often we do not take the time to think about what is causing us stress, and because we're not finding the appropriate solution. So I think that's becoming clearer and clearer as I talk. So step number one, solution number one, identify the problem, identify the underlying emotion, and choose an appropriate treat, an appropriate solution for that problem. The second one I'm going to talk about, the second solution, is being honest about your goals. So this is a little detour, but again, I consider it one of the most important aspects in living a healthy life. So you need to be very, very clear about your goals in order to achieve them. And let me give you an example for that. I'm going to give you 2 examples. The first one is just a nice and easy one out of the fitness industry that we're hearing a lot. So people come to us very often and they have a certain appearance in mind that they want to achieve. They see someone on social media and that's who they want to look like. Yeah, maybe some of you can appreciate that example. So you have to understand that in order to change your appearance, there is a lot of work involved. There is a lot of changing your diet. There is a lot of impact on your social life. There is a lot of impact on your life in general. Everything is achievable when it comes to fitness and exercise, but not everything is really your goal. And if you're not willing and if you're not passionate enough to change your life, you are not going to achieve that goal. And that is going to cause a lot of frustration because you think it's your goal, but it wasn't. And you're not actually ready to make the effort to change. So you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, again, if we're talking about fitness and exercise, very often the actual goal should be just being healthy and just feeling fitter and more energetic. And if that's your goal, then your trainings program is going to look a whole lot different, because then we can really work with just having a few exercise sessions throughout the week, changing your nutrition up just a little bit, and you will achieve that goal. But very often we're blinded by something that we see again on social media, or just by maybe a friend, a colleague who is much more passionate about that goal than we are. I'm going to give you another example. Now this is for the girls more than for the men. Let me take appearance. You know, we all know women that are always beautifully made up. They pay a lot of effort on their appearance, and it takes a lot of time, you know. So for years, personally, I wanted to be that kind of woman. I was looking up to these women that made so much effort on their hair, on their makeup, and until I realized that, you know, it's not really my goal, and I'm not actually putting in the time to look that way that other person does. It's the same about appearance. Again, it's an appearance example, but you can put that in any other way as well. So let's say if it's personal development and studying, you know, do we put in the time or do we not? Is it just an idea, or is it really a goal that we're very, very passionate about? And I can recommend stripping down goals and taking them away. Like, very often we think, oh, I really want to do this. Do you really, really want to do this? Is it really something that you're passionate about and that you're going to put effort into achieving? Because otherwise, again, you're just going to set yourself up for feeling frustrated and for feeling unhappy because you're not following through achieving this particular goal that is not really a goal. Why am I bringing this up? Because, well, it causes stress, right? It causes burnout, it causes stress. We tend to have too many goals in our lives. We tend to try to be working on too many different areas of our lives, and you want to do this and you want to improve yourself here, and so on and so on. Strip it down, make it simple. Identify one thing that you really want to focus on, that you're really passionate about, that you're really feeling like you want to put the effort and the time in, and you're going to achieve that goal. But yeah, if you have too many goals, or if you're not really clear, if you're not really precise about that goal, then don't bother. It's not going to work, and you're just going to really frustrate yourself. So that was solution number 2. Solution number 3, and I think that's the most important one, is be your own best friend. Accept yourself. Accept yourself for the person that you are, and with the goals that comes in quite handy is like, not everything is my goal. You know, I had to accept that I'm not going to look like a beauty pageant every single day because, or never really, because I don't want to put the effort in. I'm too lazy to do that. And now I'm accepting that about myself. I'm also accepting that even working in the fitness and wellness industry, I am not someone who spends all their time in the gym and works out 24/7, because I don't see the point in doing that. I appreciate that lots of people are, and they achieve much different goals. They achieve much different levels of fitness than I do and ever will, but that's not my priority in life. So I'm accepting these kind of things, and that's perfectly fine. And another thing is, talking about being your own best friend, is love your body. And it's such a cliche to say that, we hear that all the time, but if you truly, truly love yourself, and if you truly, truly love your body, you want to treat and nurture your body in a healthy way. If one of your goals was owning a very, very, very expensive car, once you finally get that car, you're going to take care of it, and you're not going to put any cheap petrol into your car because this was your life dream. When we talk about our body, this is the only body we have. There's no other option. You didn't have to pay, you didn't have to do anything, you have your body now, but treating it and taking care of it the right way, in a healthy way, is an obligation that you have if you want to remain mentally and physically healthy and fit. So these were my 3 solutions. So if I want to recap them one more time, so it's identify the problem, the underlying emotion, and find an appropriate treat. It's being honest about your goals and finding something that you're really passionate about. And the most important one, be your own best friend. Be open, be honest with yourself about the way you feel, about your needs, about what you want to treat. And also love your body and take care of it well. So what should you do? Now, I'm not going to give you very specific programs or nutrition aspects. You all know what you have to do. But basically it comes down to rest, to nutrition, and to exercise if we want to treat our body, right? I already talked about rest a little bit in the beginning. Rest is so important just because with constant stress, we're just exposed to hormones that are very harmful to our body. The stress hormones are very harmful to our body. And the longer stress prolongs, the harder it becomes to balance out the damaging effects of these stress hormones that we're exposed to. So rest is super important. And again, I'm using exercise as an example because it becomes quite apparent. So in exercise, we do know that we need rest, and that's intuitive to most people. After you had a hard workout, you want to rest, right? We don't really consider that enough for our mind, for our brain as well. And again, if you're constantly exposed to external stressors, be it through having your emails on your phone, being through phone calls, through WhatsApp messages, your brain, your mind never gets to relax. So there's always something. Your brain, your mind never gets to rest. And then a lot of us are experiencing sleeplessness, overthinking at night, not being able to switch off, and all of that just hinders rest and recovery of the mind. So finding something that works for you in order to achieve rest for your body and for your mind is important. And there's different ways, of course, mindfulness, breathing techniques, meditation, but it can also be something like connecting with friends. Everybody is different. So connecting with friends and doing something social might be too much of a stimulus for one person, but for someone else it's exactly the right tool to relax the mind. So it really depends on you. Hence, I'm not going to just give you a quick fix solution. You'll have to sit down, you'll have to consider these kind of things for yourself and really be honest again and feel what kind of sensation, what kind of emotion comes with different activities. Nutrition. There's a nice saying, you are what you eat. I truly believe in that. So if you're just eating junk, then I do believe that that's the way you're going to feel. And again, I don't want to slash eating behaviors, because you have to find out what works for you. But I think with everything I talked about earlier, it becomes clear that nurturing your body is important. And if we're working with a fixed calorie diet, which is based on our body shape, which is based on our body composition, then you don't really have any calories to waste. And what I mean by that is, if you're eating all your calories in empty food, as in food that doesn't have any nutritional value, then you will have to overeat in order to get the nutrition into your body as well. So try to choose food that has a nutritional value and that actually nurtures your body from the inside out. Again, coming back to that car example, you know, it's like that petrol that you put into your car. Just choose something that actually has a purpose, food with a purpose. And the purpose should not be to treat any emotions that have nothing to do with physical nurturing of the body. Exercise. So sorry, I already talked about exercise when I talked about a goal setting, and I think that's so important. You really need to be clear about what you're exercising for. You should be exercising. Our bodies are designed to move, and we don't do enough of that in our modern lifestyles. But how much do you have to exercise? Well, not that much actually. And there's many different ways to exercise our body. As long as you move, you're good, you know. If that's all you want to do, if your goal is really just to be healthy and to nurture your body through activity, through movement, and that's all you got to do, is get up and move. If you have more specific goals, be it health or be it appearance, then you have to work more specifically, you have to train more specifically towards these goals as well. But that really depends on how much effort you're willing to put into that. Yeah, I think that was it. That was my summary. How long did I talk? Just under 40 minutes. Okay, not too bad. So I'm just going to summarize one more time, and then I'm hoping for some questions. I've already seen some nice comments. Sorry, I have all my notes and I didn't read them. Just see if I forgot anything. Oh yeah, sorry, I just want to come back to nutrition. We were talking about having food with a purpose, and I know very often I then get questions about diets later on. So before you get there, I do consider diets, and now when I say, so the word diet really just means the way you eat, okay? But now when I use diet moving forward, we're talking about dieting in the way we understand it, in the more commonly used way. Yeah, so having a specific way of eating and not just your own personal diet. So diets are advanced tools, and that's important to understand as well. And it comes back to goal setting as well. If you have a very specific goal that you want to achieve with your diet, then you might look into more advanced dieting methods. And when I say more advanced dieting methods, I talk about, you know, everything that's flying around on social media: keto, intermittent fasting, low carb, high protein, Atkins, all of these, yeah, everything that has a name, the cucumber diet, cabbage, whatever. You get my point. They're advanced tools. I highly recommend that you do not go for an advanced tool before you have the basics right. And the basics in nutrition is finding a way of eating that sustains your body, that nurtures your body and soul, and that is that you're able to maintain over a prolonged period of time, and that you have successfully maintained for a long period of time. If you don't have that down, if you haven't mastered that basic diet that works for you, I would not recommend that you go into advanced tools. And again, I'm going to use exercise as an example because it will make intuitive sense to you. If you've never exercised before, you're not going to go and run a marathon, right? Like, you just wouldn't do that. It's the same with nutrition. If you have never managed the basic nutrition, you shouldn't go into advanced techniques. Yeah, that's one thing that I forgot to talk about. Good. So, to my summary. What did we talk about today? So we talked about the importance of, or the correlation between a healthy mind and a healthy body, and the importance of having both. We talked about stress and how it impacts our life now more than ever before. We talked about the need for treating ourselves because we have that increased level of stress. And then we went into identifying the actual causes for stress, identifying the underlying emotions, and then quickly thinking about what would be an appropriate treat for that problem. And again, that's something, please feel free to spend a little bit more time on and to dive into a little bit deeper for yourself, and really finding what works for you there. I talked a little bit about food in a social context and how it is very often used and understood, and also why it makes sense to treat sadness with food due to the hormones that are being released, but how it is just a short fix and not a long-term fix to that issue, because I mentioned we're using a physiological solution for a psychological problem, and therefore causing physiological damage, which then sets off our equation of wanting a healthy mind and a healthy body. And then we went into the solution part, again identifying the problem, second being honest about our goals and what we really want in life, and also being our own best friend, accepting ourselves, loving our body, and then talking a little bit about rest, nutrition, and exercise as ways to treat and to nurture our body the right way. Good. Please feel free to hit me with questions at this point, or comments. I've already seen some comments. And yeah, also feel free. So someone already shared that they hadn't thought about it that way. As I said, I'm interested to hear if this was what you expected from the seminar or not, because I know it might not actually be what you expected after the title, but I do hope you find it helpful. I do hope it's something that you're gonna go and think about a little bit further. And yeah, please, any questions, anything you want to discuss, let me know. If you don't want to